தோழர்களே வணக்கம். நாங்கள் இங்கே திக்ரி எல்லைப்பகுதி திக்ரி பார்டரில் இருக்கிறோம். திக்ரி பார்டரில் எண்ணற்ற விவசாய சங்கங்கள் டெல்லி எல்லையிலே போராட்டத்தில் ஈடுபட்டிருக்கிறார்கள். ஏறத்தாழ 15 கிலோமீட்டர் தொலைவுக்கு இங்கே விவசாயிகள் கூடியிருக்கிறார்கள். நாம் இப்போது பஞ்சாப் கீர்த்தி கிசான் யூனியனைச் சேர்ந்த தோழர்களோடு, கீர்த்தி கிசான் யூனியன் என்பது பஞ்சாபில் இயங்குகின்ற யூனியன், அஃபிலியேட்டட் டு AIKMS, ஆல் இண்டியா கிசான் மஸ்தூர் சபா என்ற அமைப்போடு இணைக்கப்பட்டது. ஆல் இண்டியா கிசான் மஸ்தூர் சபா பஞ்சாபிலே ஒரு சிறப்பானதொரு நிலமற்ற விவசாய தொழிலாளர்களுக்கான போராட்டத்தை நடத்தி வருகிறது. ZPSC என்ற அமைப்பு, ஜமீன் பிராப்தி சங்கர்ஷ் கமிட்டி. அந்த அமைப்பினுடைய போராட்டங்கள் பற்றி நிலமற்ற விவசாயிகளுக்கு, நிலமற்ற தலித் விவசாயிகளுக்கு, விவசாய தொழிலாளர்களுக்கு பஞ்சாயத்து நிலத்தை உடைமையாக்குவதற்கு அவர்கள் நடத்திய போராட்டங்கள் பற்றி இப்போது தோழர்கள் விவரிக்க இருக்கிறார்கள். நம்மோடு இங்கே இருப்பது தோழர் மங்கா, தோழர் சுஹைல். உரையாடலை தொடங்குவோம். So I was just introducing ZPSC and AIKMS to the Tamil audience. ZPSC is as I read in the internet, it seems to be a unique movement of its type. You briefly introduce the movement.
They can introduce.
He can, yeah.
So, ZPS. So the Zameen Prapti Sangharsh Committee, it was founded in 2014 when some of our people, some of our leaders, they came to know about this Panchayati land. In one village, they had their friend, one of our leaders' friend. They told that we have an issue in our village. Before that, we were unknown to this law, this Panchayati land and everything. And they told that we want to get possession of that land and please help us. And we said that how can we help? So they were like that it may turn, the situation may turn ugly. So you please come with us, get some of your men ready. And in 2014, when we got through the documents, and we came to know that in Sekha village of Sangrur district, we got to know about that there is this Panchayati land, and in the constitution it is written that it is a law that 33% of this land has to be leased out to the Dalit families, to the landless Dalit families, and that's how it began. And now it has spread like wildfire in 4 districts of Punjab. Like we can say that in 150 villages ZPSC is working. In June they lease out these every June they lease out land, Panchayati land in every village. Earlier the thing was that the Dalits were unorganized, they didn't knew about their rights. And so what the upper caste, so-called upper caste judges did, that they sent one of their men, one of their laborers, to get that land leased on his name as a proxy. Yes, proxy is the right word. And now ZPSC, under the banner of ZPSC, Dalits and especially women, they go to the village common place where administrative officers come every June, and the land is leased out at a rate which is fixed. And
It is a fixed rate, or is it an auction?
It is an auction. It is an auction, and what the administration, it connives with the upper caste landlords of the village. They try that the auction goes high, so the Dalits cannot afford to buy that land. And that is where ZPSC's leadership, its uniqueness is that they organize people, and those auctions are cancelled. When the rate goes high, we feel that there is a certain nexus between administration and the landlords. The ZPSC, it cancels the auction, then there is again the auction, and until the solution is reached, the auctions are held, and at last they have to give land to the Dalits.
But you tell me, what is the pattern of land ownership here in Punjab? Do Dalit own lands? What is the percentage of Dalits in Punjab's population?
See, Punjab has the biggest number of Dalit population if we compare to other parts of India. So about 34% Dalits live in Punjab, and almost all of them are landless. All there is very less land holding in Dalit families, and the Jats, they hold more than 90% of the land holding.
Okay, this Panchayati land. Now, Dalits are eligible legally to claim one third of the Panchayati land. Say, for instance, 100 acres are there. You are eligible for 33 acres. And you may have 100 or 200 Dalit families. How do you manage? What is the ownership now?
So we have tried some models of collective farming which have been very successful. There is one village in Punjab, Bald Kala in Sangrur district of Punjab, where we started collective farming. ZPSC, under the banner of ZPSC Dalits, they went to the land auction, they got their share of land. It was a very tough fight for them. So they got a good share of land, and they grew wheat there. And it is a record in 2016 that they did collective farming there in 2016. It had the biggest harvest in Punjab, that village.
How do you organize the work? How do you share the labor and the proceeds?
So it is done by ZPSC that at the end of the year the profit is distributed to all the Dalit families which participated with them, which tilled the land.
Do Dalits own cattle?
Yes, some households they own cattle, and they raise them for dairy purposes only.
How do they manage the grazing lands?
See, earlier what was under this which land is auctioned by ZPSC, like the Dalits get hold of it. They try to grow some fodder for cattle in that land also, and it has earlier I was saying that women are also actively participating in this ZPSC movement. Even if when their husbands or the men they said let's not get into this trouble, we don't want any of land, the women they come forward that you go do odd jobs in factories at other places, you go to cities, but we have to look after the cattle and we have to feed our kids as well. We can't see our milk, we have to sell it to the dairy, we can't feed our own kids. So when they go out to landlord's field to get fodder for cattle, they get harassed sexually, physically, verbally. There are instances of it is a very common thing that Dalit women are sexually harassed by upper caste men here when they go to the landlords to their fields to get fodder for cattle, to get firewood. It is a very common thing, and that is why women are actively participating. It not just gives them economic freedom. There is a sense of dignity that this is our land, that we own this land, we sow, we till it, we harvest from this, we get fodder for our crops. This is our land. So not just economically, but ZPSC is strengthening dignity of women and men also.
When speaking about dignity, what are the forms of caste oppression here on Dalits?
See, Punjab is the homeland of Sikh religion. There is a lot of the Sikh movement has done a lot. It has been very successful in eradicating caste if we compare to rest of India. Caste oppression is less here, but if we go deep inside, that's the outer picture, that's the overall picture. But if we go, there is a lot of caste oppression here as well. Here there is social boycott of people who ask for more wages during the paddy season. There is
Can you explain a bit about the social boycott?
So when laborers from Punjab, the Dalit laborers, they ask for more wage rate for paddy season. So there is social boycott. They are told that that we won't give you employment in our fields, because everything land is the productive force. here in India. Okay, there are no industries. So workers, Dalits have to go to fields to get some livelihood. Okay, so when they get organized, when they raise their voice, that give us more wage. It is very easy for the landlords. They won't let them enter in their land. They won't get. At the end of the day, when you live in a village where the landlords live in one side of the village, they have their land. You live on the other side. You have to go get inside their fields for fodder. You have to go to their houses for milk, for everything. And if there is social boycott, how will you live in village?
I mean, about the forms of untouchability practiced.
There are, we can't say that there is untouchability here. It's more of a mental phenomena. People don't say that we don't touch you or
You know,
something like that.
in other parts of India, Dalits cannot take water from the well, common well.
They, this happened earlier, but nowadays there are no wells in Punjab now. Okay, so and there are forms of repression. The repression is there, caste oppression is there, but the forms have changed. It has more become like people are boycotting, like
They have separate crematoria.
separate.
Crematoriums.
Yes, there are separate crematoriums. There are separate crematoriums. Yes, there are. There are separate gurdwaras as well.
Gurdwaras.
Yes, it is exactly opposite to the basic teachings of Sikhism. Sikhism talked about abolition of caste system. It says that one who takes pride in one's caste is the biggest fool on earth. But
Can
due
you
to
say it in Punjabi?
I can Guru Nanak said that
Say.
जात दा गर्व ना कर मूर्ख गवारा. जात का गर्व, not taking pride in one's जात. गर्व means pride. ना कर, don't do it. मूर्ख गवारा, मूर्ख foolish, गवार illiterate person. Don't take pride in your own caste. And Guru Gobind Singh said that मानस की जात सब है के पहचान वो, know the whole mankind as one. That's the literal meaning of this line. Know the whole mankind as, recognize it as one.
But there are separate gurdwaras.
There are separate gurdwaras.
Every caste are.
Yes, there are. There are many subcastes. Even in the Dalits, there are so many. There are subcastes. So the Chamars have their different gurdwara. The Ravidasiyas, they have different gurdwara. The Jats. So you can once you enter a village, once you, like we go for our organization work, you can see a clear-cut distinction in the landlord's houses and Dalit houses. They are separate, and the Dalit's houses, it's called a Veda. Veda means the porch, okay, or backyard. Okay, so they are called Vedayale. That these guys belong to the Veda. They live there, and it is an innate thing. Like the landlord raise their kids like that you shouldn't go to the Veda side. You shouldn't go to that side of the village, and that is where the sun sets to that side. So where the landlords live, those areas are where the sun rises. It is a very natural phenomena, ancient phenomena, that it has been here for years. Yes, but now things are changing.
Interaction between Dalit youth and other upper caste Jat youth in schools, in colleges, about love affairs between Dalits and Jats. Can you say something about that?
So I'll talk about education first. So there are government schools in villages and cities, and then there are private schools which are more costly. So most of the government schools are not government schools. They have become schools for the Dalits because education is free there. We can't say that it doesn't have a certain standard of. So there are no benches, there are no proper washrooms there. So the Dalit boys and girls, they study there. They also work in the fields. So most the contemporary youngsters of upper caste, they go to private schools, they go to boarding schools, they study in cities. But the Dalits are reduced to villages, to government schools and government colleges where there are no proper facilities.
Between Dalits and the upper caste doesn't happen at all in Punjab.
See, we have a number of incidents where there have been honor killings in Punjab. There are incidents where the girl is from Dalit community and the boy is from upper caste. That is somewhat acceptable. They will have to fight with their parents, but some, at the end of the day, the family accepts the girl. But when the girl is upper caste and the boy is from a Dalit community, there have been incidents that the boy has been killed. There was one very famous incident that one girl came from England. Okay, I'm forgetting the name, and it was like 20 years back. She came from England. She was citizen of England. She fell in love with a boy. She went to a bazaar to buy some clothes. She went to a bazaar to buy clothes. She met a Dalit boy there in that shop. They got married. They eloped and they got married. And the boy was killed. Yes, the boy was killed. There are number of incidents where the boy was killed. Even the girls are killed.
When,
That brought bad name to the family. Even the girls are killed.
when such honor killings happen, apart from left movements, are there any political parties who oppose honor killings in public?
See, in Punjab, the politics is dominated by Jat. So Akali Dal is dominated by Jats. Congress is dominated by Jats. So they don't really touch these issues. They say that it is a matter of courts and everything else. They don't really want to touch that issue.
They'll just keep silent.
Yes. It is always the left-leaning organization or some women organization that, and it is always when people come and when people feel that a wrong has been done. But I don't see any major party that they are doing something in favor of honor killing. There are laws that in Punjab that if we get intercaste marriage and interreligion marriage, there is a financial incentive for the couples. There is a security. The government will provide security to them. They can move to. There are shelter homes for them to stay for 2 or 3 months. There are in Chandigarh. There are some shelter homes for such intercaste marriage couples. Yes.
Despite that, this happens.
Yes, despite that it happens, and we can't say that the government is like there are slogans given, "Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao," save the girl child, and there are the slogans, but I don't see that the government is encouraging intercaste marriages at this level because it is harmful for them politically.
Speaking about ZPSC, 1/3 of the land, it's a legal right for Dalits. Apart from ZPSC, has any political party supported the struggle of the Dalits?
No, there are other there are other organizations which are fighting for, like there is Pendu Khet Mazdoor Union, PKMU.
But apart from left, Akali Dal, Congress, or any other party?
No. Like when Jalur incident happened, when in 2016, in these days only we are talking about 4 years back in December, when the landlords attacked Dalit families. They killed one of our ZPSC leaders' mother. She was paralyzed woman. They took an axe and chopped off her leg, and she was killed. And she was not even admitted to a hospital. We were not even able to admit her to a hospital to give her first aid. That's why she died. That the thing is, it was all a political nexus. When the Jalur incident happened, a sit-in was started. When it was on one side of the city, in the administrative complex in front of the DC office, then no one came and listened to us. But when we announced that we will gheraw the local MLAs, Akali MLAs in residence, the next day police came in and arrested all our leaders. So they are totally involved. They want status quo. They don't want to change things.
Now I can see that even the farm laborers, Kheti Mazdoor or landless peasants are participating in this struggle to abolish these three acts. Now I can see landless peasants participating. Has any farmers organization supported ZPSC struggles?
See, when we have been supporting it from the Kirti Kisan Union, we sympathize with their movement. We think that the thing is the 33% share of land, it is for Dalits. Then there are other provisions in the same law for economically backward general people. We support that thing. We support that Dalits should also have a fair share of land. We say that there are general category people who are economically backward and they also need land for their livelihood. And there are also provisions that ex-servicemen can get that land. We support those provisions. But there are also some like the Jalur incident happened. A lot many farm organizations, they support.
Through this struggle, do you see a newfound unity between landless peasants and Jat farmers?
We have to still go a long way because it is being propagated that these laws are anti-Kisan, these are anti-peasant laws. But we are from the first day saying that these are not anti-peasant law, these are anti-people law. Why we are saying that? Because when the APMC, the government is saying that they have made such laws which would destroy the APMC system, the existing APMC Mandi system, where will the farm laborers go? Where will they get their livelihood which they get in Rabi and Kharif season and during harvesting season? Where will they go? So if APMC, without APMC there is no government procurement of grains. So how will FCI procure grains and how will they continue with the PDS system? 67% of Indian population, they are dependent on PDS. So how will they get this cheap ration? And when they say contract farming, they will make cluster farms of 20,000 acres, 30,000 acres, and I guess more than 80% of India's peasants, their land holding is less than 5 acres. When they will make, the corporate will come, they will make cluster of 20,000, 50,000 acre farm. All of these peasants will be landless. The land will be forcibly taken away and given to the corporates. So where will they go? Because there are no industries. And then the third act, which is the most dangerous, deadly act, it is just a one-page act, the Essential Commodities Amendment Act. And even I'll say this, even most of the farm organizations, most of the labor organizations are not fully informed about it. They're not propagating about this act. We are saying that Essential Commodities Act is all of these acts are the death warrant of people. How? Because in the Essential Commodities Amendment Act, they have amended that list. Now there is no essential commodities list. So essential commodities are the things which we need to for our life, which are essential for our life, like wheat, oats, rice, cereals. All of this, earlier there could be no black marketing of all these essential commodities. There was a list, but now there is no list. So the corporate can come, it can store as much wheat, as much rice, as much oats, cereals they want, and in this way the prices will shoot up. And the next thing in this act is that the government will interfere. It will say that there is high price rise in case of perishable goods if the price is rise by 100%, and in case of non-perishable goods if the price is rise by 50%. Now suppose vegetables are a perishable good. Okay, if in this year, in 2020, we say vegetable, say cauliflower or any vegetable, tomato, its rate is 100 rupees. So the government says that in normal situation, other than famine and war, another emergency situation, in normal situation, if that vegetable in the next 12 months or year, the price will go up to 200, then only we will say that it is a high price rise. Then we will interfere. What if it becomes 199? What if it becomes 198? The government will not interfere. So suppose it becomes 190 next year. So in 2022, if it becomes 380, then government will say that we will interfere. What about 379? What about 375? So in this way, in case of perishable good, it is 100% high price rise is given authority, and in case of non-perishable goods, it is 50%. Suppose cereals, we can store them. Those are non-perishable goods. If this year their price is rupees 100, next year it becomes 150, then they say it's high price rise. But what if it becomes 145? They are saying that it's okay. And then they are using the word targeted PDS. So that in that way we can say that they are also moving in the direction of removing PDS from this system.
I can see most of the farmers are above 50. Here, do the young generation of Jat farmers or young generation of landless Mazdoors, are they in agriculture?
See, there are a lot. I don't know if I have seen a lot many young farmers here, because the Tikri and this Singhu border, these sit-ins are taking place only because of youth. A lot many youth has participated in this movement. When we departed from our homes on 26th, and that we said that we'll go to Delhi. Then beforehand we knew that we would be stopped by Haryana police, and most of the farmer organization, they took the decision that they are going to stay there, but it was the youth which broke the barricades and moved forward. So there is a lot of participation of youth. There are a lot of young farmers, and they are seeing their future, that we won't back any political party. We will always stay with the farm unions.
Regarding Dalit farm laborers, do the youth want to stay in the villages or get educated and move out?
See, the Dalit farm laborers, education is still a dream for them. Most of them don't get quality education, so they don't get benefits of reservation, and they have certain dreams. They want proper housing facility, proper they want everything. They want a certain standard of life, but here there are no industries. Even if they get education, the privatization policy has done so much damage that there are no posts for them. So it is a very tough situation for them. And we were talking about the labor organizations earlier. One point was missed, that a lot many farm labor organizations are still here. They have to still participate in this. They are not getting hold of the laws. They are still understanding them. They are still not understanding the seriousness of this issue.
Farm laborers.
Yes, they are still not understanding. You can see here a lot many. These are just farm unions here.
Shall we say that we don't own the land? It's not going to affect us anyway.
Yes.
We are landless coolies. Anyway, we are going to remain coolies. Why should we bother?
Exactly. This has been propagated a lot by so-called Dalit organizations, that it is good that the upper caste landlords will lose their land and they will also work as farm laborers beside us. But we are saying that when corporate will come, okay, they will make cluster farms. They will take away the land from these landlords. So they will build silos, high-tech silos. They will build high-tech silos, and there will be no need of much labor. Everything will be machinery operated. At the touch of a button, everything will be done. So the Dalits which are working today, they won't find any employment. What about the new ones? PSC will be doing 2 conventions in Punjab, so that they can organize Dalit people, tell the ill effects of these 3 laws on all sections of people, including Dalits. They will talk about the Essential Commodity Act and everything. and they will be telling the ill effects of these laws to especially to Dalit people, so that they can come and actively participate.
I was talking to certain other people yesterday. I heard that still the agricultural laborers, Kheti Mazdoor, are bonded with certain upper caste families to work for them in village level for generations. Is it that bond which has brought these Dalit workers here? Can we say that?
There is a certain kind of a healthy relationship between Dalits, between workers, laborers, and farmers. There is, because when a Dalits girl gets married, okay, the farmers help the Dalits, the Aartiyas help the farmers and the Dalits. Okay, they don't look up to banks, they don't look up to other financial institutions when they want anything. They want instant money. They look up to their farmer. They look up to the local Aartiyas. So there is a relationship in every single village. Okay, every single village has its own unique story. There is a certain kind of relationship. And yesterday also we went backside to meet some of our farm organization members. Okay, there are 5 or 7 kilometers behind us, behind Tikri border, and we were talking, and he said that these are the guys who work in my farms. These are my laborers, and they have come with us. So there is a. It is not that they are bonded to do that, or they are bound to do that, but there is a certain kind level of affection.
ZPSC, those areas where agricultural labor had to fight very much to get their piece of land, those areas where ZPSC has a hold, those members of ZPSC, are they interested in this?
They have questions in their mind, because they are seeing everything. They are seeing that there is such a big movement. They have certain questions in their mind, that what about our role in this movement? Where do we stand here? Where do we stand here? So they, but we think the ground report is okay. So this is the people's voice, that they won't come under the banner of farm union here. ZPSC is their own union.
Of course.
They want to come under the banner of ZPSC here.
That's right.
Yes, they want to come here.
Okay, but ZPSC as an organization, are they interested in this?
They are totally interested. We see, I was telling you, most of the farm organizations, okay, they are dominated by Jat mindset. Okay, they are still thinking that it is just a farmers' protest. We are, from the very first day when these ordinances came, these are anti-people laws, and it has now become a people's movement. And ZPSC is doing, I told you earlier, is doing 2 conventions. That is in this direction only, that we have to organize Dalit farm laborers, tell them the how deadly these attacks on farming are. Okay, so, and they have participated earlier, and they went to Singhu border. There was a very big, good number of people with them, but and now they are increasing they're trying to get more people out of the villages here to here.
It's not only a farmer protest, okay? It's a people's issue. It's a people's protest, that's okay. Do they see it as an issue of Punjab?
Yes, because if we say that the corporate takes away the land, there will be nothing left in Punjab. The Punjabiyat will die. See, there are lot many people there's a slow. People are saying that agriculture is not our profession. It is our culture. So you attack our culture, it is not acceptable to us. We won't accept it. We will fight till the end. We won't let corporate take away our lands, because everything is it goes around. It comes back on land only.
The whole economy.
The whole economy is based on agriculture. So when people are saying that it is very often seen that there are big fat lavish weddings in Punjab. Okay, there are gurudwaras in Punjab, okay, that are running 24-hour community kitchen. It all depends upon the agriculture. It all depends upon the livelihood of farmers. If they have certain amount of money in their pockets, then only they will go to the gurudwaras and donate. Then only the 24-hour community kitchen will be running. Then only there will be these lavish weddings. Okay, they don't want, they don't, there is a certain standard of living. They don't want to lose that, and there is this spirit of Punjab.
The leaders of the movement say that we will stay for 3 months or 6 months. Unless you abrogate the laws, we are not going to move. It's okay for the farmers who own 10 or 20 acres to stay here. They can spend, they can survive. What about the landless labor? How can they afford to come here and stay here? How can they look after their families? How do you manage?
See, that is the question. Not just, it is not faced by one or two organization. It is a question of the movement, and the movement will address it once. We can't see that now. There is not much participation of labor organizations, but one thing is for sure, that this movement will will be for, we are ready for a long haul here, and people are coming from all parts of India, and Dalits are also getting organized in Punjab, like we said, and when they'll come here, definitely the arrangements will be made for the same.
The land-owning farmers, those farmer organizations, do they realize the importance of this issue?
I'm sorry, didn't get your question.
Do the land-owning farmers realize the problems of landless labor for not coming here?
See, some organizations do, some of them do, but a lot many organizations are still thinking that this is a farmers' protest and it is just a fight to implement Swaminathan Commission and to get MSP. But it is much more than that.